I'm going to take a second to talk to you about underdogs.
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Fly was flying on the team. Touchdown, touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly, the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man soft. Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season here, early time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.
What's going on, you guys? Today's show is sponsored by our friends over at BetUs.com. BetUs is offering 125% deposit matching up to $2,500. So sign up now and use code JOIN125. BetUs has decades of online betting experience and millions of satisfied customers. So place your wagers on BetUs.com. Get your deposit matched, and don't forget Philly Fresco when you're rolling in that dough. Link is in the description, and thank you so much to BetUs for your continued support. Now let's get back into it. What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Can everybody hear me good? So this is gonna be a quick live. Ain't gonna be too long. I already put out 2 videos. I got a third one coming out. It's gonna be basically the second part of the video I put out with the teams I will be willing to trade with. I'm doing a video basically talking about the players that I would, pick at those positions if we were to trade up or trade down. But today, real quick, I want to talk about Jalen Hurts. I want to talk about Matt Corral. I want to talk about what is Howie doing and who is Howie doing it for? I think that's the better question. Shout out to my guy BMO Careful with his happy birthday, man. Big 4-0. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to you. But let's just hop right into it. Be sure to hit that like, hit the subscribe, all that good stuff. But let's just hop right into it. So obviously Matt Corral went to visit with Philadelphia. He put like a picture of his shoes and said he was going to gritty or something like that. I don't know. I'm getting too old for all this. But it seems that the Eagles have interest in certain quarterbacks. Obviously, they did talk to Kenny Pickett, brought him out to dinner and all that. So yeah, there has to be some level of interest. It might not be, to the level of, I know they didn't bring him in for a visit just yet. Should probably be doing that if they brought him out to the dinner. I think that the two are kind of interconnected. But at the end of the day, we look at who the Philadelphia Eagles are looking at. It's a lot of offensive guys, man. You look at the wide receivers that they're looking at now. You're looking at Matt Corral, right? We brought Jameson Williams in here. We brought Chris Olave in here. George Pickens in here. A lot of offensive guys. We did bring a defensive player in here today in Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State, the safety, which I think is a name that, listen, I already recorded the second part of that video that I said I was going to do, and I did bring up Jaquan Brisker. Jaquan Brisker was a name that if the Eagles trade back or if the Eagles were to fall back a little bit in this draft, ideally you would hope that he would drop there to the second, but I doubt that he will. He feels like a late first rounder. Him, Lewis Kine, and I'll even say Daxton Hill. I think those three are kind of hopefully second round, more likely a Lewis Kine than a Jaquan Brisker or Daxton Hill. But those are three guys that I'm kind of looking at that I think would fit the Philadelphia Eagles. So it was kind of interesting to me to see that they did bring him on in. I think that he could be a great addition to this team. I would love to see him on the Philadelphia Eagles. Not just because he's a Penn State guy. Obviously, that would help. I'm getting tired of seeing Penn State guys going to the opponents, going to the rivals, right? I had to see Saquon go to the Giants. I had to watch Micah Parsons go on to the Dallas Cowboys. Can't think of anybody that Washington had Arrington for a long time, and he was from Penn State. So anyways, I'm going to go into a whole tangent about that. But what do you guys think? Because that's really what I need to know. What do you guys think that this is all for? Is it for Jalen Hurts? Is it for another quarterback? Because we can look at the face value of it, right? We look at the Philadelphia Eagles and how they're structured and how they had success last year. And it wasn't off the back of a strong passing game. It wasn't off the fact, like, if I look back at those games, I don't think you put another wide receiver in place of anybody. I mean, I know Rager has some terrible games, but I can't realistically sit here and say if we had another wide receiver, we would have won 3-4 more games. I don't think that's what. I think our defense was the issue, and I think that's getting lost, if I'm being 100% honest, and that's kind of what scares me. But shout out to Nina Alston in the building. What's going on, Nina? I haven't seen you in a while. Glad to have you back. Easy Money in the building. I know it's a playoff time. I know the Sixers play tonight, so I'm surprised anybody's even on this chat, to be honest. Shout out to Mike, man. I sent you a moderator wrench, whatever you want to call it. So welcome to the chat. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe if you guys are new. Quezzy the Great in the building says, man, I didn't know the Giants had 2 first-round picks. LMF. It's the Giants have 2 picks. The Jets have 2 picks in the top 10. I think the Seahawks have 2 picks with it in this whole draft. So we'll see what happens. We will definitely see what happens. Easy Money says Matty Ice Corral, next star quarterback, Philly 500, said his tape is similar to Mahomes' college tape. Facts. That's a high praise. That's a high praise. I mean, Mahomes wasn't necessarily who we thought Mahomes was going to be in college. Like, nobody coming out of college thought Mahomes was going to obviously be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, if not the best. Depends on who you ask, I guess. That's a high praise. That's a high praise. I hope that, hey, if he's that good, bring him on. And I do think he's one of the better quarterbacks in this draft. I've said before, I like him. I like Sam Howell. I like Kenny Pickett. I know he got small hands, but everything else about him I like. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens, though. We will see what happens. What's going on, Ryan Rowe? Marcus Blackstock says they don't even know they have so many holes. It's the truth. You know, and it's a good and a bad thing. It's a double-edged sword, because you sit there and you say, I'd almost be okay with anything because we have so many holes. But my fear is that they reach for the wrong hole. And that sounded, pause. Let's bring that back. I just got demonetized and everything. You know what I'm trying to say. They reach for the wrong need, right? They go for a wide receiver in the first round when there's a clear-cut, better cornerback or a clear-cut safety. You know, somebody's going to be there. So, we have to just pick the right players. I know it's easier said than done, but we don't need a wide receiver in the first round, y'all. And, I know that has nothing to do with what we're talking. I mean, but it does. It kind of does have everything to do with what we're talking about because that's what we're doing it for. We're doing it so that Jalen Hurts gets a weapon. That's what we're doing it for. And I don't know if that's really worth it when the defense is really what held us back. We were like 12th in scoring offense last year. I don't think it's our offense that necessarily held us back. And if you go rewatch a lot of the film, if you go rewatch a lot of the schemes that Nick Sirianni put out there, I think he's got something twerking. He's got something working together. We just need to see a big maturation from Jalen Hurts, or we need to see an improvement at the position. It is what it is at this point. I don't think wide receiver was necessarily holding us back, but I could be wrong. BMO says defense is the most important thing to focus on, not wide receiver. Wait till the third. I agree. When you had 3 first-round picks, you could have talked me into a wide receiver. But the more and more that and look, mock drafts aren't everything. Obviously mock drafts don't predict everything correctly. But I look at patterns, and I feel like the pattern has been you're going to be at the position of 15 where you have maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, and that's really stretching it, maybe 4 guys at the cornerback position that you can realistically say are round 1 projections. And I just feel like you have to, I'd much rather reach for, make a reach for a Kyer Elam or an Andrew Booth than make a reach for one of these wide receivers. That's how I'm feeling. Be sure to hit that like. We got 20 people in here, man. Let's get 20 likes up in that building. Let's do it. But I don't know why I said it like that. Unspoken Word says, Joe, you said something real. I don't know if our receivers would have made the difference. I don't. I really don't. I really don't know if he would have been the difference maker. It's just, everybody that's in the chat, if you don't know already, shout out to Be More Careful. It is his birthday. So definitely go show him love in the chat. But no, I just don't think that the Eagles wouldn't have won that playoff game if we had one more wide receiver. You can probably talk to me and say that if we had a very good cornerback 2, we might have had a better chance. If we had a better linebacking, any one of, realistically, we probably would have had a better chance. I just don't think that we would have had a better chance with another wide receiver. That's just realistically how I feel right now. BMO says, Quasi the Great says, I agree, we got to go defense in the first round. Yeah. BMO says, with this story they talking about, would you trade for Kyler Murray? That's a great question. No, I probably wouldn't. I probably would not. I just don't want to deal with nobody else's issues, especially for what it's going to cost us. We're probably going to have to give up a bunch of first-round picks, a bunch of this, a bunch of that, and then pay him on top of that. We're just not there yet. I think we're at least a year away from making decisions like that. I think even if we would have got, if we would have got a Russell Wilson this year, I think we would have been kicking ourselves in the butt next year, if I'm being 100% honest. Because, we need to build this team. We don't have a good defense right now. We don't have a wide receiver. We don't have a wide receiver 2 solidified. It depends on how you feel about Quez. I like Quez Watkins a lot. I think he can be that number 2 guy. But obviously there's question marks there we don't know yet. But yeah, I wouldn't trade for Kyler Murray right now. I just wouldn't. It's not worth it to me right now. What's going on, Brandon? He said Traylon Brooks. He loves Traylon Burks. I don't mind Traylon Burks. You know what I'm saying? I really don't. But yeah, no, I just don't think it's worth it, especially at 18. Depending on who's there, if a bunch of defensive players go and you're left with, your best player available is a wide receiver, then I'm not going to sit here and be upset, right? I'm not going to cry over spilled milk, but I just don't feel like we'll be in that position. I forgot my party faces in the last comment. Gotta have the party faces. If we can get the defense right, improving the position. That's the thing, Ryan. If we can get this defense right, I think that's what makes us an instant, I don't want to say competitor, but makes us an instant upgrade over last year. If we have a better defense, look, one wide receiver is not going to do much for this offense. I'm sorry. It's just not. You know, we need way more than that. And we need more from the players that we have dictating the flow of the offense. Whether that be, you know, Jalen Hurts, whether that be our running backs being able to stay healthy. We have to have the guys in place that can do the job. Jalen Reagor has to get better. If not, he has to be moved on, and we have to find somebody that's going to do his job. It's simple as that. It's simple and plain as that. You know, I think it's very, very simple and plain. We can't overdo anything. We can't overthink anything. Don't try to be the smartest man in the room, Howie. Jameson Williams, he's a dynamic wide receiver and a great return man on special teams. You know, Jameson Williams is an interesting prospect because it's like if he is there at number 18, he might be your number one player on the board, if I'm being 100% honest. I don't think he will be at number 15, so for me it'll still be a reach and a risk. But, you know, he should be. I think he's running already, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure he'll be ready by the time the season comes around. I just don't think that wide receiver is a need right now. It is a need. I just don't think it's a dire need that I'm willing to reach at the position to get. Like, that's the thing, and I think people need to understand. Let me clarify that. It's not that I don't think we need a wide receiver at all, that I'm totally against getting a wide receiver in this draft. It's more so I don't want to reach on a wide receiver in the first round when there's guys at cornerback that can help us day one, that there's linebackers that can help us day one, that there's defensive linemen that can help us day one, a safety that can. I'd almost much rather reach for a guy like Daxton Hill or Jaquan Brisker than reach for a wide receiver. That's really how I feel right now, and it's not a knock against any of these wide receivers. I think that there's a lot of good wide receivers, but I just think that we need defense, man. We just need defense. No Traylon Burks unless he falls to the second. I wouldn't be mad at that. I would not be mad at that. Imagine bringing back Anthony Harrison saying it's an important signing. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough because, look, Anthony Harris is not absolute basura, and I'm sure there's a sect of Eagles fans that will try to give you a sob story of how this defense was, you know, just in shambles. But if we're being 100% honest, a lot of Vikings fans weren't overly upset that he left. They weren't, you know, crying in their sleep, crying themselves to sleep because he left. So it is what it is. He's a serviceable safety. He's a starting level safety in the league. Maybe bottom 15 type guy, but at the end of the day, he's a starter in this league. Has experience. He's not that old. You hope that that he trends up. That's all you can really do, is that you hope that he starts to trend up. Unspoken says exactly, our quarterback needs to be better, straight like that. What do you think about Jordan? What's going on, Eagles number one fan? He says, what do you think about Jordan Davis? I would love him even at 15. I like Jordan Davis. I think people need to understand that Jordan Davis is kind of a one-trick pony as far as his film. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not a pass rusher right now. He's just not shown the ability to do that. You look at his scouting combine numbers, and obviously if he can play to his combine numbers and not his film, he could be something we haven't seen ever, if not in a long, long time. I'm talking Warren Sapp. I'm talking possibly Aaron Donald-esque if he can play to those numbers. That speed, that strength, that size, that's not something that, you know, you can teach. But him as a pass rusher, he just hasn't really lived up to that, you know, those measurables. So it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a guy that at the very worst can be a great run stopper for you, then I think that he's a great player for you. I think that he's the type of guy that, you know, he will fill that type of need. Is he what the Eagles like? The Eagles usually like their defensive tackles involved in the passing game. You look at Javon Hargrave getting a number of sacks. You look at what Fletcher Cox has been able to do over his career. So, you know, I think that if you look at Jordan Davis, he's a great player, but I don't think he really fits what the Eagles want to do. Give me a Devontae Wyatt. I think Devontae Wyatt is a little bit more of Howie's speed, a little bit more of this defense's speed. But that's another thing we have to understand too, is that we got a new defensive line coach. We don't know what Tracy Rocker wants. We don't know what Jonathan Gannon wants out of his defensive lineman, because obviously last year Fletcher Cox didn't necessarily fit what he was looking for. So maybe he does want a Jordan Davis. Maybe that's more along what we are now looking for. So it really, this draft, we say this all the time, but it will definitely tell you a lot about what the Philadelphia Eagles mindset is moving forward. So I like him, but I just don't know how much the Eagles like him. I hope that answered your question. A regular GM gets a great quarterback, weapons. What do we look like not getting weapons for the quarterback that's borderline struggling? I mean, that's a double-edged sword. That's a weighted question right there. That's a very loaded question, because you're basically saying our quarterback's not doing well because he doesn't have weapons. What do you like? Is that a knock towards the weapons that he does have? I think Devontae Smith, a lot of quarterbacks would love to have him. I think Dallas Goedert, a lot of quarterbacks would love to have him. Quez Watkins quietly had a really good year. And our running game was the best in the league. I think a lot of quarterbacks would love to have what he had as a running game. So I don't know. You can say, what does that say about us? But what does that say about him if we need to go get a million players around him to make him better? A top quarterback and a safety will change his defense completely. I agree 100%. We need to draft the best player on defense available when our picks come. I agree. What's going on, Michael DeJean? What's going on? Brandon says, I wouldn't be mad at double dipping on defense, especially if Devin Lloyd is available. Facts. And that's another thing. Like I said, I am going to drop that video a little bit later on, maybe right after this. I don't know. I have some editing I have to do, so I wanted to make a bunch of videos so you guys had content, because I didn't go live yesterday, so I wanted to make sure y'all had some content. Where you see that Brisker visit Philly, I forget where I saw it. I'm not going to lie. I forget where I saw it. Hold up. Wait a minute. It's somewhere on Twitter. It's definitely somewhere on Twitter. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you, because I'm pretty sure I retweeted it. If you don't follow me, I will say, if you don't follow me on Twitter, definitely go follow me on Twitter, because I'm telling you, I'm always talking on there. Always retweeting, always talking on there. So here's the list of all the pre-draft visits so far. So at the quarterback position, the only quarterback that we have visited with it is Matt Corral. So take that as you will. Obviously, we did take Kenny Pickett out to dinner, but that is not a pre-draft visit, apparently. So we only talked to Matt Corral so far. Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, and George Pickens are the wide receivers that we've talked to so far. Kenyon Green and Tyler Smith are the two offensive linemen, which if we took Tyler Smith at number 15 or 18, I might lose my ish. Kenyon Green makes a little bit of sense at maybe 18, and I know that it would kind of get upset, Cowboys fans, so that's always good, but I don't know. And then defensive end, we got 4 already. We got Jesse Lukita and Arnold Ubiquity from Penn State. Jesse Lukita is such a very interesting prospect to me right now, because I thought he might be one of those UDFAs, but apparently, I'm not saying that every top 30 visit is a first-round guy, but it's interesting that they used one of them on him. And then D'Angelo Malone and Kayvon Thibodeau are 2 other guys that we did have meetings with. D'Angelo Malone, a very, very good defensive end that I'm definitely keeping my eye on more towards the later end of the draft. Devontae Wyatt, as we said. Jordan Davis, as we said, both were already in the building. Both already had pre-draft visits. And Perion Winfrey, is the 3rd defensive tackle that we've had in so far. Sauce Gardner, we all know that he just visited. Andrew Booth Jr. also visited from the cornerback room. And then cornerback Marcus Jones, who I've been talking about. I don't know if people have been listening to me, but I've been talking about him. 5'8" guy from from University of Houston. Special teams guy, made a lot of plays on the ball last year. And then Jaquan Brisker obviously went in today. That's per Brandon Lee Godwin. That list is actually from Brandon Lee Godwin. So I know a lot of people like to ask, where are you getting this from? Who your source? All right, where was I? I feel like we should draft 2 receivers, one in the 1st, one in the 3rd. So our receivers would be D. Smith, rookie, Quez, Pascal. I'm not jumping on it, man. I'm not jumping on or committing. I'll say that. I'm not committing to drafting any position especially on the offense this early. We got to see how the board shakes out. Quezzy says, honestly, I believe JG was the reason why our D-line was trash last year. It's possible. I think Tracy Rocker had a little bit of say in that as well, but we'll see what happens. Give me Wyatt. He's done. Yeah, I agree, Jeremiah. Davis is a two-gapper, true nose tackle, while Wyatt is more of a true three technique with 0 to 4. I can't talk. With 0 through 4, even 5 technique versatility. I've seen film with Davis in 3 technique, but that's about his range. I agree, 100%. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better than myself. I really could not have said it better myself. Do y'all want to see the second part of that? Do y'all want to see the second part of that video? I might just drop it right now. Why not, right? Y'all gangster. Y'all want to see the second part? So the video is about who I would draft. Who I would draft at those picks if we were to go ahead and give up the picks. I think I'm going to show it. I think I'm going to send it. Y'all want to see it? Let me know in the chat. If y'all want to see it, let me know in the chat. If not, we could just keep on going. If y'all want to see it, let me know in the chat. If not, we can just keep going live. Keep talking that talk. I think running back is one of our least concerns at this present moment. I agree. I'm looking at Davis at 320 or Wyatt, then a DB receiver at 51. Yeah, we can wait. We could wait on receiver. We can honestly wait till day 3 if I'm being honest. You think the Eagles trade up to get Sauce? I don't want to see him go to the Giants. They possibly... I think that their first pick is going to tell us a lot about what is going to be available for us. If they go defensive end or if a quarterback goes at number 6, the Eagles could be in a very, very good position. Philly559 says later, let's keep it pushing. Say less. Say less. How would you draft the first 3 rounds? The first 3 rounds. Obviously, it depends on how the board falls. But just from like my experience doing all these, mock drafts and how I keep seeing the board fall, I'm thinking your best defensive lineman at 15, whether that's George Karlaftis, whether that's a Wyatt, whether that's a Jordan Davis, whether that's a Jermaine Johnson, whether, whoever that may be, best defensive end or cornerback. So, because I keep seeing cornerbacks going off the board really quickly, so I want to get that position. The second first round pick, I'm going best player available. I really don't care what it is. If it ends up being wide receiver, it ends up being wide receiver. If it ends up being a defensive lineman, it ends up being whatever it may be. Go ahead and get best player available at that spot. And then, the second round, I'm looking, again, best player available. I would love to get a safety in that round. I think that's your last shot to get a real, starting safety. And then third round, I'll go wide receiver if you haven't already gotten one. I think that's a perfect time to go ahead and get yourself a wide receiver. We still got 20 people in the chat, man. I would love for us to get to 20 likes. We got 15 right now. If y'all could do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You know what I'm saying? Real quick, I want to... people sending me stuff on Twitter and stuff. I love it. I get nervous because I think some breaking news is about to hit, so that's what I'm looking at. No, it's just more about Kyler. It's just more about Kyler. Nina, we got one versus one. If y'all want to see the video, just let me know in the chat. Philly, I think the Eagles could draft Kenyon Green, a Landon Dickerson-esque pick. I hope not. I hope not. If you're talking about in the first round, I can see them doing that because he does have versatility. He could play safety. He could play center and he could play guard. I think he's even played some games on the outside as a tackle. So he has that versatility. I don't want the Eagles going to do that. I really don't want the Eagles doing that. Should we trade to 6 and get someone just to piss off the Giants? I would be down with that. I would be down with that. Let's do it. I'm down. Don't they have a top 5 pick, though, too? They have number 4. So I think they're going to get whoever they want. But what if Howie trades the 2 first-round picks and trades back? I'd be pissed. I would be royally upset. I think we are going to trade both picks in some capacity. I wouldn't be surprised if we tried to trade up, and I wouldn't be surprised if we then took the 18th pick and tried to trade back. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I asked this to like my group chat, and I'm gonna ask y'all this too. How would you feel if Kansas City Chiefs called you and were like, we'll give you number 29 and 30 for number 18? Would you take that? Would you take number 29 and number 30 for number 18? I don't know. I was thinking about that, especially depending on how that board falls. You probably end up with one of your top safeties at that position. You might end up with a wide receiver that you really like at that spot. If we take an O lineman, it should be Trevor Penning and moving him to right guard. I've heard a lot of these offensive linemen that can move to right guard, or guard in general, I should say, because I think it's indicative of this draft, though. There's a lot of versatility in this draft. I don't think that there's any top tier, high end talents, but I think you have a lot of great players. I'm taking 29 and 30 quick. That's what I'm thinking, because don't they need a wide receiver? You want number 8? Would you do it for number 15? Would you do it for number 15? Leave you with number 18, 29, and 30? Or is it only number 18 you're willing to move on from? Me personally, I'm not moving on from that number 15 unless we're moving up. I just can't see it. We have holes right now. We need to fill those holes right now. I'm not waiting. Not waiting. Not for 15. I respect that. I just know you're going to have to give me the world for me to move from 15. And it has to be not that far back. Like, the only trade I was looking at was like 17. If the Chargers called us and was like, we want to jump the Saints because they're at 16, give us your number 15 pick, I'd probably do that. I might do that. If I knew who they were going to pick and it wasn't somebody I wanted. Because I feel like you have a good idea of what the Saints want to do with that pick. So that's why you felt comfortable going ahead and moving on from it. Even though we pick in front of them every time. O-line and D-line, only option at 15, then whatever at 18. I would not say that it's the only option. O-line especially not. O-line, I don't even think O-line is an option at 15 unless something crazy happens. Like, unless Ike Ekwonu, is at number 15, or Evan Neal somehow drops to number 15. That's the only way I'm really going. Yeah, that's really about it. Maybe Charles Cross, too. Maybe him, too. But outside of that, I'm not getting no offensive lineman. It's either D-line or secondary. That's all I'm looking at right now. I did not know we're second in sacks of all time. I didn't know that either. That's interesting. I didn't know that either. Let's go. I know we weren't high on interceptions. Rigor Mortis Linderbaum, nah, man, nah. Maybe if Kelsey left, it would be more of a need now, but not anymore, man. I think even looking at his even if you look at where he's dropping on big boards, man, he's not a first rounder on a lot of people's boards. I think 15 would be a reach. I just think offensive lineman right now would be a reach for the Philadelphia Eagles. We don't need it. We need to take the best player at a need. Like, you got to marry the two. I don't care what nobody says. There's really no such thing as best player available in most cases. Most cases, you're weighing best player available alongside need. What do you need, and who's the best player at that position, and is the skill gap, immensely different between the two players? And you got to take that into consideration. You're not taking an O-lineman, but you know how Howie looks at O-line. That's a fact. That is definitely a fact. That is definitely a fact, man. I can't push it to the side because I definitely know he's going to be down if somebody drops to him. But I really think it's only those top three guys. To me, it's got to be either Charles Cross, Icky, or Evan Neal. For you to really make that type of a decision, it has to be a guy that you just did not see dropping to you. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that, to me, it's a reach, man. Even some of those guys, I'm not doing it. What's going on, Eagles Realists? You ain't missed much, man. We just chilling. We chopping it up. You know what I'm saying? We chilling, chopping it up. We chilling, chopping it up. What? Bars, man. I'm about to make a whole song. But shout out to everybody in the chat, man. We got 25 people in here. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. Let's get this thing to 20 likes. We're only 2 away. And shout out to everybody, man. I need a shout out when we pick O-line in the first. Yeah, bro, I'm gonna be streaming it. So if you tune in, I'll definitely eat crow. I'll definitely eat crow. I just don't want to see us do it. I really don't. I think Trevor Penning could be better than Brooks at right guard. That would be interesting. That's a take. That's definitely a take. I could see Howie trading back in the first round for Carroll. You want one on Twitter, Rigor Mortis? I got you, bro. I got you. If he trades back into the first round for Carroll, Philly's gonna be mad. Philly's gonna be very upset. But he could. He definitely could. It depends on how other teams look at Matt Carroll if he's one of those top guys taken. I think no matter how much people want to pretend like they do, nobody knows how these quarterbacks are going to fall. I really don't think anybody, you look at a lot of these different draft boards from different analysts, they've changed so much over this year, and they usually do change a lot over the offseason, but I mean, they've changed drastically this offseason. We went from seeing Trayvon Walker being, a mid-first, late first round guy to being damn near a number one overall selection. People are talking about Jacksonville might pick him up. You've seen Jermaine Johnson, who people were calling me crazy for mock drafting him in the first round, in the beginning of the playoffs. And now look at him. Some people are saying he's a top 10 guy, and I think that's kind of crazy, but it is what it is. I think Dillard is moved soon, which makes us take O-line and getting up there. Lane getting up there, yeah, and Kelsey might be good. That's very true. That's very true. I am one that has a lot of faith in who we have. I do. I have a lot of faith that I have a lot of faith that Jack Driscoll can be a starter. I think that I can't talk. I think that Isaac Seumalo is going to fill right back into his position and be fine. Obviously, we saw what Landon Dickerson is. Yeah, I guess you could find a right tackle. I guess that's true. I'll give you that. I ain't even mad at that. That's true. That is very true. But if you give up Dillard to go ahead and get an offensive lineman, I'm going to be a little bit pissed. I would use Dillard as a piece to go ahead and trade up with. But even if you look at these offensive linemen later in the draft, you got a guy, Buford is a good player. Chris Paul is a good player. Ezi Abna, I think his name is, from TCU is a good player. You have a lot of good offensive. Dylan Farnham, if you're looking for a guy inside. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's a couple guys that I wouldn't mind getting later in the draft as well. So, and Trevor Penning might be there in the second round. He might be. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit biased right now because I'm tired of seeing this defense be so bad. That's really what it comes down to. I'm just tired of seeing this defense be so trash. Can we get some good defense back? That's all I want. But the question remains, and this is the question I want to leave you guys with, and I want you guys to leave your answers in the comment for me, please. Let me know what you're thinking. Who do you think the Philadelphia Eagles are actually building this team for? Do you think it could be for Jalen Hurts, like they're looking at these wide receivers to pair him with Jalen Hurts? Or do you think they're looking at these wide receivers and saying, we can go ahead and get us a wide receiver and a quarterback in round one? I really need to know what y'all thinking. But other than that, I am about to get out of here, man. The part 2 of the video that I just put out is going to be out later on tonight. I don't know when I'm going to put it out. It just adds to the lore. It really adds to the lore. But shout out to everybody in here, man. Y'all know what it is. It is Fly Eagles Fly, and we are out here. Peace! What's going on, you guys? Today's show is sponsored by our friends over at BetUs.com. BetUs is offering 125% deposit matching up to $2,500. So sign up now and use code JOIN125. BetUs has decades of online betting experience and millions of satisfied customers. So place your wagers on BetUs.com. Get your deposit matched, and don't forget Philly Fresco when you're rolling in that dough. Link is in the description, and thank you so much to BetUs for your continued support. Now let's get back into it.
Everywhere, this is for
Yeah.
you.
Fly Eagles flying when you on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.